हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गायै नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरं भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेयोपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम। We shall chant from the first mantra of the 23rd section. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukham asti bhumaiva sukham bhumatveva vijitnyasitavya iti bhumanam bhagavo vijitnyasa iti. yatra nanyat pashyati, nanyat shrunoti, nanyat vijanati, sa bhuma. Atha yatra anyat pashyati, anyat shrunoti, anyat vijanati, tadalpam, yo vai bhuma tadamrutam, atha yadalpam, tanmartyam, स भगव कस्मिन् प्रतिष्ठित इति स्वे महिम्नि यदि वा न महिम्नि इति. हरि ओम. So the teacher Sanat Kumar ji taught Narad ji about this supreme Bhuma, starting from Nam. The teacher conveyed the subtler and subtler aspect of this world, ending in that prana. But prana is also something which changes, so subtler than prana. And the very adhar of this entire creation, the ultimate satya, is bhuma. And only when we recognize and realize this bhuma, we will become free of all our bondage. So for that, we should first purify our antakarana, then approach a teacher, serve the teacher, learn from the teacher, develop that shraddha, contemplate on the teaching, meditate, and recognize that supreme Bhuma, that supreme Brahma, as our own self. So that Bhuma is indicated as of the nature of Sukha. Yo vai Bhuma tat Sukham na alpe Sukham asti. That Bhuma itself is Sukha. There is no Sukha, there is no happiness in that which is limited. Bhuma is unlimited. In that unlimited alone is Sukha. But what is this Bhuma? That has been indicated in this mantra, the first mantra of the 24th section. Ki Bhuma is that in which there is no Dvaita Vyavahar. There is no transaction of duality. What is duality? Duality is to consider I am different and something other than me is there, which I know, which I hear, which I perceive. So that itself is called the Vyavahar of duality. See, the presence of myself and the presence of world itself is not duality. But to consider that I am different, this world is different, is what is meant by duality, Dvaita. Just there being multiple objects doesn't mean there is duality. Just like the various ornaments are there might be hundreds of varieties of ornament made from gold, and there you can see the multiplicity. Many different types of ornaments you can see. So from the standpoint of the ornaments, which is the karya, which is the effect, you can see many different objects, different ornaments. But from the standpoint of the cause, from the standpoint of gold, there is only oneness. So if one sees difference, then that person is just focusing on the effect. But from the standpoint of the cause, there is no difference. Similarly, when I look at myself as an individual experiencing this world, the world is different from me. I perceive the world, I hear the world, I know the world. The knower is different from what I know. If that is my understanding, then that understanding is false. That understanding is of Dvaita, of duality, which is false. Duality is false. World is not false. I am not false. To understand myself different from this world is what is called false or mithya. So here very clearly the teacher indicated this bhuma by saying that in that bhuma there is no dvaita vyavahar, there is no transaction of duality, because and that itself is amrutam, is immortality. And where there is a transaction of duality, that is considered as alpa. So atha yatra anyat pashyati, anyat shranoti, anyat vijanati tad alpam. There where one sees something different, hears something different, thinks something different, that I am different, what I see is different. That notion is duality, and that notion is alpam, is limited. And in such limitation, there is no sukha, there is no happiness. There is only sorrow, pain, and suffering. Only in that Advaita there is sukha. Only when we come to know that everything is one, there is sukha. The everything doesn't disappear, but everything is one, that understanding happens. Then Naradji asked that this such a bhuma, which you have talked about, where is it established? What is its support? The teacher says that if you are asking for support, it is established in itself, in its own glory. But from a higher standpoint, it is not established in itself also. It has no support. It doesn't need any support. Swe mahimni yadiva na mahimni iti. So the teacher at one point said that it has its support and it itself is its support. It is established in its own mahima. And later on, the teacher also said that it has no support. It is not established on anything. Na mahimni iti. So this appeared to be a contradictory statement. So in order to clarify it, the teacher now clarifies this in the next mantra. So mantra number 2, let us chant. Go ashvamiha mahima iti achakshate hasti hiranyam dasabharyam kshetrani ayatanani iti nahameva bravimi iti hovacha anyo hi anyasmin pratishtita iti. Once more. Go ashvamiha mahima iti achakshate हस्ते हिरण्यम दासभार्यम क्षेत्राणि आयतनानि इति नाहम एवं ब्रवीमि इति होवाच अन्यो हि अन्यस्मिन् प्रतिष्ठित इति. The teacher says that Bhuma is not established in anything. First, it said that it is established in its own Mahima. But one should not misunderstand this, because in the world, generally by the term Mahima or glory, we mean some of our possessions, like go ashvamiha, mahima iti achakshate, like in this world, a person has got lots of cows and lots of horses. Then for that person, all that possession becomes his mahima, his glory. Nowadays, we have our vehicles, our wealth, our houses, our factories or some other industries which we own. Then those things become our glory. And we are as though established in our glory. Similarly, one may think about other glories, like we have Hasti, a person may have a lot of elephants, or Hiranyam, lot of gold, or Dasa, lots of servants are there taking care of that person, serving that person, or Bharya, a wife, then Kshetrani, lot of land, Ayatanani, a huge house. So all these are considered glory in this world. So when it is said that Bhuma is established in its glory, so one may misunderstand that, oh, there must be something other than Bhuma on which it is established. So the teacher says that is not what I meant. Because if you think like that, then there is something different from Bhuma, which is not what I meant. So Anyo hi Anyasmin Pratishtita iti, in this world, the cows, the horses, the wealth, the house is different from that person. So in the world, from the worldly standpoint, we can say that he is established in his wealth, he is established in his vehicles, he is established in his house. But when it comes to that Bhuma, there are no divisions in Bhuma, there is nothing other than that Bhuma. Anyo hi anyasmin pratishtita iti, by which we can say that Bhuma is established in that other thing which is there. It is established in itself. But from a higher standpoint, the teacher had indicated that it is not even established in itself. It is just is. So na aham evam bravimi, said, I did not mean that the Bhuma is established in something other than itself. But what I wanted to convey was this. And what he wanted to convey, the teacher now conveys in the following mantra. It's a very beautiful and important mantra of section 25. The first mantra. So here the teacher says, let us chant. Sa eva adastat, sa uparishtat, sa paschat, sa purastat, sa dakshinatah, sa uttaratah, sa evedam sarvam iti, atha, atah, ahankara adeshah, eva, aham eva adastat, aham uparishtat, aham paschat, aham purastat, aham dakshinatah, aham uttaratah, aham eva idam sarvamiti. Once more. स एव अधस्तात् स उपरिष्टात् स पश्चात् स पुरस्तात् स दक्षिणतः स उत्तरतः स एव इदं सर्वम् इति अथ अतः अहंकार आदेश एव अहमेव अधस्तात् अहम उपरिष्टात् अहम पश्चात् अहम पुरस्तात् अहम दक्षिणतः अहम उत्तरतः अहमेव idam sarvamiti. So, Shankaracharya writes before this mantra ki kasmat punaha kvachit na pratishtita iti uchyate yasmat. That the teacher said that Bhuma is not established in anything. It has no support. Why it is said that Bhuma doesn't have any support? The reason the teacher gives in this mantra, he says, Sa eva adhasthat. See, for something to have a support, there should be something other than that, which can give it support. So here the teacher says that Bhuma alone, he alone is adhasthat, is below. So if Bhuma is there and something is supporting the Bhuma, which is below, but below that Bhuma is also Bhuma only. So Sa eva adhastat. So maybe it is getting some support from top. The teacher says Sa uparishtat. He alone is above. He alone is above. Maybe it is getting some support from behind. He says Sa paschat. He alone is there behind. That Bhuma is indicated here as he alone is there behind. So maybe getting support from front, it says no, Sa purastat, that Bhuma alone is in front. Maybe support from the right, it says no, dakshinataha, Sa dakshinataha, that Bhuma alone is on the right. This is my right hand. Huh? And Sa uttarataha, and that Bhuma alone is on the left. And Sa eva idam sarvam, and he alone is everything. See, in this world, everything, all objects, they need some support or other. If I have some fruit, I keep it on the table. But table itself is supported by the floor. The floor itself is supported by the building. The building itself is supported by its some pillars. Those pillars are supported by the earth. But even from this worldly standpoint, if we look at this earth, if you think about this earth, it appears to be just hanging supportless in the space. But really the space is supporting that earth. Space is supporting the earth. But space itself is supported by that supreme Brahma. And who is the support of that Brahma? No one. It doesn't require any support, and there is nothing other than that to support it. In Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavan in the 7th chapter, he says, कि मत्तः परतरम नान्यत किंचित अस्ति धनंजय. हे Dhananjaya, हे Arjuna, there is nothing other than me. Matta parataram na anyat kinchit. There is nothing greater than me. There is nothing equal to me. There is nothing lesser than me. I alone am there. Mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. Everything is just held by me only. But nothing is apart from me. And that is what is said here, that the Bhuma alone is there. So, sa eva idam sarvam, everything is that Bhuma alone. Shankaracharya writes in his commentary, ki sa eva Bhuma adastat na tad vatirekena anyat vidyate yasmin pratishthitasyat tatah uparishtar ityadi samanam. By saying that Bhuma alone is below, the teacher conveys that there is nothing other than that Bhuma on which it is supported. And that itself is above, that itself is on the right, on the left, in front, behind. And sa eva tu sarvam, and that Bhuma alone is everything, because it itself is present in everything, inside, outside, everything. That Bhuma and Bhuma alone is there, that infinity alone is there. That Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma alone is there. Nothing other than that. Now, one question can come into our mind. Here, the Naradji had approached his teacher to teach him about the self. He had approached the teacher to gain self-knowledge. And that is the main thing. Because only by knowing oneself, one can become free of all grief. Shokam tarati atmavit. Only an atmavit transcends all sorrow. So the Naradji had approached his teacher to gain that self-knowledge. The teacher started talking about all these other things, Nama, Vaka, Mana, Sankalpa, Chitta, Dhyana, Vijnana, Bala, Annam, Apa, Teja, Akasha, Smara, Asha, Prana. Then he started talking about that Satyam, that one has to know that Satyam, because everything what we experience is constantly changing, but that changeless existence is Satyam that has to be understood. And then he talked about that Bhuma. That Bhuma alone is above, below, on the right, on the left, in front, behind. Then one wonders that what I have to gain by knowing this Bhuma. What is there for me? You are talking about this Bhuma. So one may have this doubt. Shankaracharya writes in his commentary, कि one may think कि यत्र न अन्यत् पश्यति इत्यादि करणादि अधिकरणादि अधिकर्तव्यता निर्देशात् स एव अधस्ताद् इति च परोक्ष निर्देशात् द्रष्टुः जीवात् अन्यो भूमा स्यात् इति. that one may think that this Bhuma is something different. I have nothing to do with this Bhuma. It is different from me. Something the teacher is conveying. So that misunderstanding one may have, because it is not very clearly indicated. So now, a very important thing, the teacher is conveying that Bhuma from our own standpoint. It is called Ataha Ahankar Adeshaha. From the Ahankar standpoint, the teacher is conveying this Bhuma. That what was indicated as Bhuma, the teacher conveys that it is not different from you. You yourself are that Bhuma. So therefore he says, कि अत अहंकार आदेश aham eva adastat. I should understand that I alone am there below. Aham eva uparishtat. I alone am above. Aham paschat. I alone am behind. Aham purastat. I alone am in front. Aham dakshinataha. I alone am on the right. Aham uttarataha. I alone am on the left. And aham eva idam sarvam. And I alone am everything. All this I alone am. This is the ahankar adeshaha from the standpoint of ahankar. Now let us do some contemplation and understand what is this ahankar. See, we experience our stula sharir, this gross physical body, which is made up of the 5 great elements which have undergone all modifications. So from the food which we eat goes to nourish this body. So this physical body is there, but this physical body is active. It keeps on moving and does all different types of functions. So there is another body which is there within this physical body, which is called the Sukshma Sharir. That Sukshma Sharir is made up of 19 parts. The Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Pranas, and Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankar. These are the 19 parts of this Sukshma Sharir. So when I say I understand myself to be this body, physical body, and I also understand myself to be the Sukshma Sharir, the subtle body. That is my understanding, and that is my experience, though it is a false experience and false understanding. But at present, I assume myself to be this physical body, and I assume myself to be the Sukshma Sharir, the subtle body. So I experience this world also through this subtle body, through my antakkarana. So through the antakkarana, I experience this world. In the antakkarana, there is this buddhi, which is this antakkarana only, having the function of deciding It's called Nishchayatmika Buddhi, the ability to decide. Then we have this Mana, which is Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam, a thinking expression of our Antakkarana. It does thinking, evaluation of everything, the pros and cons, the various options. Then we have a faculty of this Antakarana which is called Chitta, which records everything. It is like a recording machine. Every thought, every emotions, every action, every experience is just recorded as it is. It's like a recording machine which is constantly recording everything, what is happening. So that is the chitta. And when we have to think, we refer to this recording also. It comes to our mind. Suppose I want to do something, or if I am a doctor and I want to, some patient has come. So while diagnosing the patient, all the things which are stored in my chitta, right from my birth, right from from my schooling and then going to college and going to the medical college, and all the experiences which I have had, everything is stored there. And when the patient comes, I check the pulse of the patient, I check his heartbeat, I check his blood pressure. All this I do because I know, because whatever I know, it is there stored, so it is recollected, and it helps me to evaluate, to judge, to decide. So all this functioning happens of this Antakkarana. It's very amazing instrument which one has to observe and understand and study. So this buddhi is a nishchayatmika, it does the nishchay, it decides. Mana is sankalpa vikalpa, it thinks about the various options. And chitta stores all the information, everything. But there is one more expression of this antakkarana, which is most amazing and most wonderful, and that is called ahankar. Ahankar is a sense of I, which is present there in the antakkarana. That sense that I am. And the entire faculty, all the faculties are functioning for the sake of this ahankar only. The body walks, the body does all activities for the sake of ahankar, the mind thinks for the sake of ahankar, the buddhi decides for the sake of ahankar. Everything happens in the service of the ahankar. Ahankar is the one which handles all this variety of expressions. The buddhi, the mana, the chitta, the karmendriya, the jnanendriya, the sharir, the pranas. And what is this ahankar? It's a vritti, it's a thought of I am. Which is there in our antakkarana. Now see, very interesting. All the time this thought is there. When I am awake, when I am moving around. Somewhere in the background, that experience is there, that awareness is there of my own presence. All the different activities happen. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, everything is going on. Thinking. But behind all this activity, that ahankar is present. Without that, actually, all our activities will not make any sense. For example, you see something, you see an object, you see this apple. So, what is the experience of this? Say, seeing the apple. But this is not a complete experience. I am seeing the apple. I am present there in seeing. If I eat that apple, then I am eating this apple. If I like it, then I say, I like this apple. I am thinking of buying some more apples. I am thinking of distributing apples. So, in every experience, in every thought, everywhere, this I is present. So very amazing it is. It is present in dream also. When I am dreaming, that I is there. I am seeing that dream and present in the dream world, seeing and experiencing the dream world. Then there is what is called deep sleep. In deep sleep, what happens? The I disappears. This ahankar disappears. It is not there. Mind is also not there. Intellect is also not there. In deep sleep, means dreamless sleep, there is no experience of ahankar. There is no experience of mana, buddhi, chitta. There is no experience of karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. There is no experience of this world. Very, very strange experience. And when I wake up, when I think about the deep sleep, I can say that I slept happily, but really speaking, that that thought I was not there in deep sleep. The only thing I can say about deep sleep that something was there. Existence alone was there. Like in the previous chapter, the teacher talked about what was there before this creation. Sadeva Swami Idamagra Asit. Sat alone was there. And Shankaracharya ji, about this Sat, he says that it is just existence itself. Nothing more can be said about it. Sat alone, existence. And that also is our experience of deep sleep also. Only thing we can say about it is that something was there. And when we wake up, that something or that someone we call as I. We call it as I. I say, I slept happily. Now, again, you may not understand this. Let me take another example. Again, this example of this apple. When you look at this apple, a corresponding thought of the apple happens in your mind, in your antakarana. When we look at the mountain, corresponding thought of the mountain happens in our antakarana. So when we pursue this world, the corresponding thought happens in our antakarana. So every thought which we have in our antakarana, it has got a corresponding object in the world because of which that thought is there, or about which that thought is there. So all these thoughts are in general indicated as idam vritti, as thought of this. Thought of this. The thought of the world which I experience which happens in our antakarana is in general indicated as this, idam vritti. So if the apple thought is there in my mind, there is a corresponding object which gave rise to that thought. So if I show this object to you, you will also get that thought in your mind. Now the question is, when we have the thought of I, what is the corresponding object of this thought? See, when we see any object of this world, spontaneously that thought arises in our antakarana. We don't have to do anything. If you see this apple, the thought of this apple will just come. It is how it is. When you perceive it, that image gets created. Just like a mirror. The mirror is there. So whatever is there in front of the mirror, that image just forms in the mirror. Mirror doesn't have a choice. The mirror doesn't have a choice. If you are standing in front of the mirror, you will see that beautiful image, handsome, beautiful. You will be seen in the mirror. Mirror doesn't have a choice. If an ugly person is standing in front of the mirror, that ugly image will be formed in the mirror. Mirror doesn't have a choice. Mirror just reflects what is there in front of it. Similarly, our antakarana is like a mirror. Whatever is there in front of it, that image gets formed in the antakarana. That is the vritti. So if there is a vritti of aham, if there is a thought of aham, then what is the object of that thought? the object of that thought is not there outside. Listen carefully. The object of that I thought is not there outside in this world. The object of that thought is within. That entity which was present without any thought, without any other objects in deep sleep, which alone was there, which is called that Kshetrajna, which is called Pratyekatma, which is also called Pradnya. That entity alone was there in deep sleep. And when I wake up, means when the mind intellect wakes up, that entity is referred to by my antakarana as I. That entity spontaneously is referred to as I, means that image as though of that entity happens in our antakarana as I. Just like in front of the mirror, if the apple is there, spontaneously the image of that apple happens. And I know that this is the image and that is the apple. Similarly, a spontaneous vritti of aham, aham, aham happens in me, in the antakarana. That is because of the presence of that kshetrajna, that innermost self. That is just happens. That is called the aham, ahankar. But generally we have heard that ahankar is bad, ahankar ko you should destroy ahankar, you should not have ahankar and all. The ahankar itself is not bad. But due to ignorance of this ahankar, due to not recognizing this ahankar properly, we associate this ahankar falsely with the body, with the mind, with the senses, with the activities, and we think that is the ahankar. See, just as again to take the example of this mirror, and let us say there is an image of some object in that mirror. Like we have our rear view mirror and all when we drive. We look into the mirror and we see some object. We see a car, we see some cycle. Then we turn around to look at that object directly, the corresponding object. But sometimes, because of the placement of the mirror at some places and all, one may get confused exactly what is it showing. So you might consider some other object as being reflected there in the mirror. Similarly, the innermost self is reflected as I, as ahankar in our antakarana. But not knowing this properly, Because of our foolishness and avidya, we think it is the body, it is the mind. So we identify with the body, mind, senses, indriyas, actions, etc., and think they are the I. So when the body is walking, I say, I am walking. But I am not walking because I, that innermost self, is not walking. When the senses are seeing, I say, I am seeing, but I am not seeing actually. The senses are seeing. I am that Pratyagatma. There are no senses. There are no eyes in it. There are no ears in it. There is no mind in it. There is no buddhi in it. There are no activities happening in it. But because of not knowing that properly, we identify with other false thing or other elements like the senses and mind and intellect, etc. So here in this mantra, it is like a Mahavakya. The teacher conveys that Bhuma which I talked to you about, that Bhuma you are that Bhuma. That aham, what you have, and which you have falsely identified with other aspects, that aham is that Bhuma, and that aham itself is everywhere. So aham eva adastha, I alone am below, I alone am above, I am on the right, I am on the left, I am behind, I am in front. Just imagine like space. Space is there. The space is there in this cup also. So the all pervading space is present in this cup. But when it is present in this cup or a pot, we call it pot space. It gets a name, pot space. That pot space is just a name of that space with respect to this pot. But space by itself is not called pot space. It is a space. But when you look only from the standpoint of this pot, you feel it as though limited, the space as though limited within. But if you focus your attention on this space, you will know that that space alone is above, it alone is below, on the right, on the left, in front, behind, everywhere. It is space alone. So this pot space is like our ahankar, which falsely we identify with our body, mind, senses, etc. But the teacher is indicating that you are not limited here. You are above, you are below, you are on the right, you are on the left. Shankaracharya writes, so when it was that Bhuma was indicated, he says that one may misunderstand that drashtuhu jivad anyo bhuma. That bhuma is something different from this I, the drashta, I, the jiva. That bhuma is something different from me, I, the ahankar. In order to remove this false notion, iti ashanka kasyachit ma bhoot, one should not have this wrong notion. Therefore, iti atha ataha anantaram ahankara adeshaha. This ahankara adesh is given. means that Bhuma is pointed out from the standpoint of Ahankar, means from the standpoint of Aham. So Ahankarena Adishyata iti Ahankara Deshaha. It is pointed out from the standpoint of Aham. Because first it was objectively pointed out that Bhuma is everywhere, Bhuma is above, below and all. And then the teacher says, you look at it as yourself, not at some other third person is there as Bhuma, but you yourself are Bhuma. So drashtuhu anyatva darshanartha Bhuma eva nirdishyati ananyatva darshanartham. So to indicate that Bhuma is not different from this drashta, this I, the teacher has given this ahankara adesh. Ahankarena aham eva adastat ityadina. That I alone am below, I alone am above, I alone am on the right, on the left. So that is what is said here. So generally when we talk about ahankar, it is associated with ignorance. And from this ahankar, what we have to eliminate is the ignorance, not the ahankar itself. Ahankar is aham asmi, I am. That experience which we have is called ahankar, which has to be associated with Bhuma, that I am Brahma, I am Bhuma. Due to ignorance, we associate it with the body, mind, and their activities as I am a man, I am a woman, I am walking, I am young, I am old, I am happy, I am unhappy. These are all wrong association of that I. But the same I, when you understand it rightly as not different from Brahma, then that is the right knowledge. Okay? So think about it, contemplate on this, understand it properly. More about this we will see in our class on Wednesday. So till then, you take care, be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana. And see you on Wednesday. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.